Dude, is that just an Indy car chilling over there? So I'm traveling a bit this week, and I wanted to stop by my friend's shop and check out some sweet stuff he works on. We'll go in there in a minute, but before we do, I want to show you some of the stuff that's out here on the outside, because this is how I knew I was in the right place. I see this chilling over here. Z4 on a trailer. I was like, yep, this seems right. Then I come over here and I look at some of the other stuff here. This BMW, Camaro, another BMW, a Mark III Supra, another BMW. I'm like, okay. And well, there are these trailers that were kind of in the way. Then I see this sitting out here and I'm like, oh yeah, definitely the right place. So I'm stopping by my friend Devin Bruce's shop, Bruce Innovations, to check out some of the sweet projects that he has going on. This is Devin Bruce. His name is also Devin. We're
Devins.
Yeah, he's one of my Drift Week buddies. If it weren't for him, I don't think I would have finished Drift Week. So
I appreciate that. If it weren't for you, I actually wouldn't have finished it. So
I had a pretty big crash at English Town, and after it happened, I sat in front of my trailer and almost pulled the car on the trailer to go home because I was super sad and super bummed out. But as I was thinking about that, he calls me and he's like, hey, nah, it's fine. We'll fix it. It's no problem. We'll pick up some fiberglass. So we fixed my car and
yeah. Actually fiberglass. That was that was dope.
Actually fiberglass at the track. Yeah. I did anyway, and he watched and provided moral support.
I mean, that's a big thing. That's not something that anybody does. Zip ties are some things, but actual fiberglass and paintwork.
I mean, the fiberglass, without fiber, I couldn't have put it back there with zip ties. The bumper would have fallen apart halfway down the road.
It just shows how committed you were.
So this is his shop, and these are the kinds of things that he does. And well, I'll let him talk about it a little bit here because he has kind of a unique business that I'm very interested about. So I guess, what does Bruce Innovations do? If you could give a 30-second or 1 minute blip about what your shop does.
Bruce Innovations is kind of set up into two different things. The first thing would be race car prep support and some fabrication here at the shop. And that goes out to some just aftermarket builds, and we work on mainly BMWs. Obviously the Camaro is a little bit different, but it all kind of falls under the same umbrella of non-street car things. I tend to stay away from those. But, and then the other portion is at the track. I partner with two other people, and we run BMW factory race cars. Seems to be what works best for us that we've done in rental car racing. So we run a few different endurance series where we rent out seats to race in, anywhere from 8-hour races to 24-hour races. So and that's kind of the at-track portion where, like I said, I partner with two other people, and I just kind of manage the team, manage the events, keep it going.
So rental GT4 BMWs.
Yep.
And you have these two, and then you said you have two in Europe as well?
Yes, there's two others in Europe. They run the Cervantic series over there, which is another international endurance series. They run a few races here in the States, but mostly everything over in Europe. So, and these are the most recent generation of M4s, other than the new ones that come out at the beginning of next year.
That's freaking rad.
So,
now I know him because of these cars over here. So this is the first car I met him driving, which is all in pieces now as he's doing a refresh on it. But this is it was like a 500 horsepower Z4 that, like, I first met him was like, yo, this car's pretty cool. And he's like, you want to drive it? And I'm like, nah. Like, dude, you don't know me. You're just going to let me drive your car? And he's like, yeah, pretty much.
I mean, you're not going to hurt it more than I do. If there's one person that's going to abuse it, it's me. So everyone's always nicer to it.
And then this is the other car. This is the Drift Week car that he built for Drift Week, put a cage in it, turboed it, did all this cool stuff, pretty much just for Drift Week.
Yep.
And now it's pretty much the main car since the other one's torn apart.
Yeah, typically how it goes, you know, all of your time goes into one thing until the other one works, and you're like, well, I'd rather do it than work on it. So, not that I don't like working on it, but.
Now, I didn't ask about this yet. I've already been here for like an hour or two hanging out. But what is this?
It's a 74 RSR. It's a customer car, essentially. I say customer car. It's one of my partners that we do the endurance racing with. That is his personal car.
That's freaking awesome.
So
that is super cool.
It's an old Porsche Cup car.
Old Porsche Cup car, Z4 drift car, Z4 drift car. The first 4 engines over there are BMW engines, right? And
yeah,
then,
some older BMW engines, and then the 2 to the right are the newer ones.
And then next to it are 3 of the, what'd you say, 6 engines you've blown up in your red car here?
We're going to call that VH45 R&D. That's how you figure out how to not lock up a VH. We fixed the legendary VH rod bearing problem. Has nothing to do with actual rods.
So what is it? What caused the rod bearing failure on the VHs?
Oil pressure drops because the oil pump is being spun too fast and it cavitates itself. So that style of oil pump can't be spun over 4,700 RPMs, and that engine at factory redline is like 500 RPMs over the actual cavitating point. So people are always like, oh, they have rod bearing issues. No, they don't have oil pressure. It's kind of required for engines.
Which is pretty neat.
Ask me how I know.
There's not a lot of people that run VHs because of that, and now you've figured out the problem with them and you're getting it sorted out, so you don't have problems anymore.
Yeah, it's weird. For being such an old engine, like, well, I mean, I say old, it's, yeah, from, you know, they were pretty much created in the late 80s, that there's not a lot of knowledge, like, there's not a lot of information about them. It's not like an SR or really anything else, or a JZ or anything like that. So, I mean, it's kind of, even though people have done it before, you just can't find anything about it. So, like, finding, after I figured the oil problem out, like, finding, like, where actual parts broke, I asked a whole bunch of people, and they're, you know, a lot of people threw out numbers, but no one had actual data to back it up. So it was, I don't know, pretty much turn the boost up until we figured out what happened after that consistently. So then we figured out that, yeah, 600 horsepower is the limit of the VH45 piston. And ringlands come apart. And
then ringlands.
Yep.
Fix the oil pump issue, or, well, keep RPMs lower, then you run into ringlands that fail when you crank up the boost too much.
Yeah, I think limiter is the biggest issue of that. I think fuel building up in the ringlands, and that's what broke it. I just don't think the pistons can hold that. So regardless of the fact that they're, like I said, they are old engines, you know, I think the highest mileage one I made over 500 horsepower on was, I think it was like 207,000 mile engine. But it made cool noises.
It made cool noises.
Until it stopped.
Well, I'm gonna go explore a little bit because he has some neat stuff up there that, well, you'll see why he does drifting, or one of the reasons why he does drifting, because he's got some good stuff in storage up there.
Just don't judge the mess.
Don't judge the mess.
Like I said, if you have space, you fill it with crap.
If you have space, you fill it with crap. Yeah, that's about right.
That's about how it goes.
So this is part of why Devin Bruce here does drifting, is he's got all these takeoffs from his customer cars that, yeah, he's just got a ridiculous amount of tires ready to go. Check this out. This is a super sweet shop project that's a little different than the BMWs that he normally works on. And then there's a Mazda hanging out over here next to some crazy V8 chilling here. And then a Mustang? This is crazy. This is a super neat wide body kit. Or one-off wide body, whatever. This is wild. Man.
Really?
So there's just like a wall of turbos over here.
Where's that?
That, yeah, I need a couple of these.
Turbos.
Chrysler Conquest with a 1UZ. These are such cool cars. These are the original DSM, I think, right? One of the first anyway.
Yep. Super cool. Factory wide body, turbo 4 cylinders at the time, which they were actual tractor engines. So they didn't make any power, but it was a cool idea. So he does all of the wraps for all of the race cars and road course cars we do. And he had one of these, I think, for his like first car, and he has a lot of sentimental value. And he's like, I wanted to have a V8 and be really nice, so it's pretty much getting done top to bottom. And
that's sweet.
We're gonna pretty much make it as much as we can to have the the 1UZ to look like it came in the car.
All right, so you work on some cool stuff. What do you have in the shop now that's like your favorite thing? I know like when you work on cool stuff a lot of the time, like you're just like, oh, it's just another day in the office. I remember like going to SEMA for a couple of times, and the Lamborghinis and Ferraris got boring. So what's your favorite thing that you have in here now, or what's one of the favorite things you've worked on?
I don't know. See, I'm biased. I feel like when I first started working on factory race cars, working on the M4s was really cool. Seeing how BMW did it and it being factory cars, but I don't want to say that kind of wore off. So I'm biased towards drifting. That's my thing. That's my hobby.
So you just like working on drift cars is your favorite?
Yeah, they're the most build things that don't make sense. Like it's just that's the type of thing that I like doing, and so it's funny because like I can work on a race car. We've got like the E46 up there on the pallet racking, and it's an E46 track car that they're like, what's under
the covers up there?
On the right is a E46 M3 road course car.
Just chilling on a pallet rack.
Yep. It's got a build S54, and it's a pretty good road course car. And under the left is my version of a death cart, which was a E90 335i that I cut all up, and it's got the top tube roll cage on it, and I just don't have time to work on it, so it was in my way. But it's like when I build stuff now, everything is, I don't know, like all of race cars should be durable, and what's more durable than a drift car? When drift cars are designed to be beaten on, designed to be repaired really quickly, they make more power than 99% of motorsports unless it's a straight line car. It's just my thing. So I'd say drift cars, fully drift cars.
That's why I like drift cars too.
That's just how everything should be.
It just blows my mind. Like when I met this dude last year, like I was like, dang, like he's got this super cool BMW drift car, and I never would have expected that like he built and maintained and does like road course stuff. So it's like super cool, like getting to know he's got this like really rather unique business, but yet at the same time, his favorite thing is to build drift cars. Like I think about in Utah, Life Motorsports. You know who Life Motorsports is?
Yeah, they do time attack with the R35 stuff.
Yeah, so they do a lot of, like, that's what they're most famous for right now is R35 stuff. They do a lot of, like, very similar rental race car programs, I think. At least they used to maintain a bunch of the Spec Z stuff. But, like, half of the shop, or at least half the shop, last time I was there, which was a while ago, they're drifters. So, like Cole, who owns Life, would, like, go out to like the drift events or talk to the drift guys to see the people that are really good at fabrication and stuff, and then he would hire them to work on building these road race cars and maintaining these like super cool stuff because, I don't know, in my opinion, I think that the drifting is like the new version of hot rodding.
Oh, we're to that generation. Well, I could completely agree. The generation of hot rodding is, they're older. They're, I don't know. When they first started doing it, they were younger, and this may get more detailed and in depth than most people think about it. That's why I look at it. You know, they were at the point where they were younger, they didn't necessarily have a career going. So when you want to modify your car, well, you've got to do it yourself. And that's, I think, where drifting is at right now. Like, let's be realistic, like, we're a bunch of kids. You know, we couldn't hire a company to build a car for us. So we do what we can. We fab stuff like we come up with what we can do to make our hobbies possible.
As he's leaning up against a hot rod project.
I know that's the irony of that.
It's super cool. Like that's totally right. Like if you think about like a hot rod, right? Like you get something, you make it look how you want it to look. You put a sweet engine in it, like something like that, right? You put a pretty big beefy engine in it. You do all the fab work and all the restoration work and all the modifications yourself, and you build something that is what you want, what you enjoy. And so when I think about like a hot rod, this one's obviously in progress, but if you think about that in terms of hot rods and you look at like this car, right? Rear mount radiator, twin turbo setup on kind of a, what's an uncommon V8 engine. And he made it look how he wanted it to look and made it drive how I wanted it to drive. Like that's a hot rod to me.
And it's just,
same with that. Both of these are hot rods.
You modify the car for what you want to do, and drifting, let's be realistic, like when the whole hot rodding thing was a thing, drifting wasn't around yet. So, I mean, drag racing was the big thing here in the States at that time, and well, that was that generation's thing. I'm not saying it doesn't still go on, but I think drifting is definitely the younger generation's avenue that they're going into. And I tell people all the time in road course racing, and they ask me what I'd like, I'm not saying that road course racing isn't fun, but I tell people all the time, drifting is the most fun you can have in a car under 100 miles an hour. Hands down, without a doubt. Wheel to wheel is awesome. It's just not the same. And it's not even just being in the car. Different group of people, different mindset.
All right, the camera died during our discussion about hot rods and drifting. But it's time for me to go. I got to get home, but this has been pretty cool checking out Devin Bruce's road race rental program and auto fab and build all the cool things shop, because it's not everywhere that you can see a BMW road race car. What is that, a Camaro?
68 Camaro.
68 Camaro, a Chrysler Conquest, a Mustang, a couple of Z4 race cars, an Indy car up top. This is pretty freaking sweet. So if you're in the market for a rental road race car, Bruce Innovations, that's the place to go.
We'll get you in a seat.
Yeah.